So it's pretty late. It's like almost 11 o'clock, and I've been trying to write a Facebook post for this evening and this afternoon. I've tried to put it together, but it was too long. This is important and I want to talk about it, and I want to share it specifically with my friends and family, which I don't normally do. I have opinions and I don't want to put them on anybody else, and I want to be able to have those opinions and not create anything for anyone else. Allow them to have their opinions and me to have mine. That being said, I want to talk about two things right now, and as I said before, specifically to my friends and family, that I've never really been like super deep about. I haven't spoken super deep about. And it starts off by telling you that I, at 15 years old, was diagnosed with something called chronic fatigue syndrome. CFS for short, or ME as some people are known as. Chronic fatigue syndrome is where the analogy that the doctors used to explain to me what chronic fatigue syndrome was basically that you have a house and your body is your house, and inside your body there is an alarm, just like you're having a house. There's a house alarm, and when something bad and negative intrudes on your house or your body, I'm not gonna keep going back, but that alarm goes off, and that alarm allows everything in your house to spring to action, to create that home and that house to be safe again. And then you get rid of that negative or bad thing in your house and the alarm goes off. And that's how a normal body reacts. You have a body, something comes in like a virus or something, either something mental, physical, emotional, or trauma or something, and it affects you, and your internal body alarm goes off, and either you send out bacteria, good bacteria to fight the bad bacteria, or your body creates mechanisms in its mind to help you with your mental illness, and so on. And then averagely, when that's sorted and done, your body comes back down again. With someone with chronic fatigue syndrome, what happens is all of that stuff happens first. For me, I got swine flu and glandular fever at the same time. That was the negative bad thing that intruded into my house. My alarm went off, it attacked the glandular fever and swine flu, and the glandular fever and swine flu left my house and the alarm turned off. But then it started tripping. My alarm in my body kept tripping, and that created a environment in my body where if I got hit, it felt like I'd been punched. If I got a headache, it turned into a migraine. If I got a cold, it turned into something much more intense than that. And unfortunately, this is not outwardly shown. You can't see this. You can't meet someone necessarily with chronic fatigue syndrome and be like, oh, okay, your body doesn't work properly. There are some people who are bedridden because their body's alarm is consistently going off, and it tires them out and they can't do anything, and their body always feels like it's under attack. But that's where the fatigue comes in, is that your body does always feel like it's under attack, even if it's just a small bit, or it's always working or the alarm keeps going off to the point where you get so tired that lots of things, your health deteriorates again. You get forgetful, your speech gets muddled, your speech gets muddled up, or your immune system drops, your nervous system drops, your emotional health drops. It all drops because you're so exhausted from fighting something that your body thinks it needs to fight that it doesn't need to fight. There's no way to trick your body into rewiring its alarm back to how it was when it was working. You can't fix, there is no known cure for chronic fatigue syndrome. Just adding a little bit and adding a little bit to allow your body to get used to each thing, so nothing feels negative, so the alarm doesn't go off. Now that I've explained a bit about what that is, I was diagnosed when I was 15, and since I've been 15 years old, I have never just got sick. I've never just had a sniffly nose or a sore throat or just a cough and a cold that's lasted a couple of days. I have had colds that have turned into 2 weeks in bed. I've had headaches that evolved into migraines that have taken me out for weeks at a time, where I can't sleep, I can't move, I can't go anywhere. When I was first diagnosed, I was wheelchair bound for about 6 to 8 months. And I don't share all this information very often because I don't feel like it's really it doesn't need to be said. You know, you don't need it in your life. It's negative, it's not positive, it's not saying, oh, look what I've done and stuff. It's just like, oh, how sad was my life. In April last year, I got a virus, just a very normal virus that was going around just like everybody else. And I ended up in the complex care unit for 8 days after 2 A&E referrals from my doctor, because I couldn't open my eyes. I couldn't get out of bed. I was incoherent. I couldn't see what was going on around me. I had to have a lumbar puncture and a CT scan and lots of bloods because they weren't sure what was wrong, and it turned out it was just a virus. It wasn't anything big. My body just extremely reacted to it, like a lot of bodies do that have chronic fatigue syndrome. This has been my life since I was 15 years old. I'm now 24. This is almost 10 years where every time I get sick, there's such a huge outcome. Now last year when I got sick, I actually lost my house and my home. I lost my job. I couldn't work for months, and the financial situation got really bad, and my mental health got really bad because of all these things that were happening, and I really struggled. There is a gap in the NHS because it is so spread so thin, that, you know, you end up on a waiting list for therapy for months at a time, or a referral takes 6 months for them to just refer you to somebody else for the next 6 months or something. So it's really hard to stay on top of these things, and I really struggled, and it was scary. Now last week on Tuesday, I felt ill, and that escalated by Friday. I had a temperature that had been going all day. I had a headache, I had a blocked nose, I had a sore throat, I was feeling very flu-like, and I was scared. Actually, I was terrified of what was going to happen to me. I was feeling nervous and anxious and stressed, of course, but I was feeling genuine fear. I've just moved into a new house. I've signed a lease. I've got a new job in the past 6 months, and I didn't want to lose any of that. And my experience of ever getting sick, any kind of sick, even just a cold and a cough and a temperature, has always escalated so severely that I haven't been able to hold on to those things. By Monday this week, I was reasonably over my cold. My temperature broke Sunday evening. My blocked nose had calmed down, and I felt better. I felt good, actually. I felt tired, of course. I've been sick, but I felt better. And I can't tell you the genuine relief and joy that came from the idea of the fact that I'd been sick. It's such a weird thing to be excited about, but I had just been sick. I hadn't been hospitalized, I hadn't been awfully ill, I hadn't been knocked out for weeks. I just had 5 days where I'd had a cold and I'd got over it. And to me, that was amazing. That was an amazing thing. Now, of course, the side effect of this is that I had a lot of anxiety building up over the past couple of days because of all this fear. And now that I knew I was going to be okay, I had to let it go. This is something else that I haven't talked a lot about. I suffered quite badly from anxiety as a teenager. I had severe mental health problems, and anxiety was one of them. And anxiety for me has been really good over the past 5 years. I've really learned how to manage it. I spent a long time in therapy, and I learned tools on how to manage it. Being autistic, anxiety comes a lot with that. Social situations are very difficult and very hard, and therefore their anxiety peaks majority of the time. But through the years of being in therapy and growing up as somebody with Asperger's and being high functioning, I learned how to cope with these things. I had a concert to go to last night, and and I got dressed and I felt good, and I went downstairs and had some food, and then I came up and I did my makeup, and all of a sudden I didn't like what I was wearing. Now that might seem very normal and very casual for a 24-year-old, and it is. I tried on different clothes and none of the clothes looked right and none of them were okay. Again, that might be average, but it got worse, and my inner monologue and my thoughts started to progress more negatively. Like, I'm going to a country concert, therefore I have to look country, I have to wear something country. What if other people see me not wearing something country? They're not going to like me, they're not going to smile at me. If I don't wear this specific checked country shirt, then Casey Musgraves, who was the singer, is never going to notice me, or I'm not going to be allowed in. And I sat down for a minute and I looked in the mirror and I thought to myself, I need to calm down, because if I don't calm down, I'm not going to go. And I knew that the only way for me to calm down, the tools that I have, is to follow a series of instructions and a series of actions. I knew that I needed to get dressed, I needed to get my keys, I needed to leave the house, I needed to walk. I was going to get on a bus and go where I needed to go, but the bus was going to take 22 minutes, and I knew that if I sat down for even a minute, I was going to get more and more worked up. I actually called a friend, and luckily for me, she answered. She lives in the States, so that was great timing. And she called me back, and I said to her on the phone, I said, look, I'm feeling very, very anxious, I'm having a bad time, I need you to talk to me. And she said, do you want to talk about it? I said, no, I just need you to talk to me. And she was amazing, and she did. She just talked to me. She told me about her life, about her day, about what was going on with her. And while she talked to me, I had a familiar noise in my ears of the sound of her voice, and I was able to concentrate on my breathing and calm myself down. And it took some time. I walked all the way over to my mum's, which was a 15-minute walk. I did some breathing exercises, I started counting, I do a touch thing with my fingers to remind myself, and eventually I did. I calmed down and I felt a lot better, but my anxiety has then peaked. So for the past 2 days it's been really, really hard. Loud noises, lots of crowds, big people, like lots of people, and it's been really difficult for me, and I felt very, very on edge most of the time. Today I went to a screening for a documentary by some YouTubers that I watch, and I got the chance to meet them and for them to sign my book, and I was physically shaking after spending about 20 minutes in the queue to get in, 20 minutes to wait for the film to start, an hour of the documentary, half an hour of the Q&A, and then another 45 minutes in another queue with hundreds of people, and my anxiety was so high by the time I got there. I could barely talk properly, and I was physically shaking. And this wasn't even in Bristol where I live, this was in Bath. I had to get to Bath and get home, and I went all on my own. I didn't have anyone to go with, and it was really, really, really hard. Now you might be a family or friend going like, Ella, why are you sharing this? This is so weird, why are you doing this? First of all, I wanted to share it, and I normally share with writing, but this is too much to try and write down, so I decided to do a video. Second of all, the reason I want to share it is because I am a very loud, in-your-face person. All my friends and all my family know this, that for the most part I come across very confident, very secure, very happy, very bubbly and excited. I might not be making a comment on all these things, but I feel like a lot of people in my life don't understand, and I think that's my fault. I haven't explained it to you, I haven't sat you down and tried to help you understand. I've spoken to people who do have chronic fatigue syndrome or fibromyalgia, and we just finish each other's sentences. They just get it. And I want my friends and my other family to get it. I want them to understand, and I feel like I dropped the ball and I didn't explain. So I'm trying to do that now. So I wanted to sit down and explain that to you guys. If you're somebody who has seen this and resonated with it, or has seen this and has gone, do you know what, Ella, thanks for sharing this, this is helpful for me to understand for you, then I feel like I've done something right. Lastly, before I finish, I just want to say, if somebody has got chronic fatigue syndrome, don't tell them like, yeah, I'm tired too, or, you know, just do it, you can sleep tomorrow, because it doesn't work like that. People know their limits, and chronic fatigue syndrome is so intrusive on your life, especially your social life and your personal life and your work life, that when somebody pushes you even a little bit, you tend to give in and you say, okay, yeah, fine, knowing that the result's going to be 2 weeks where you can't do anything. So try not to push, try to just give them some time, try to meet them halfway. If they say they really aren't feeling well, maybe come over to their house. You know, I'm super lucky. I have friends who do that when I'm really tired or I'm not feeling great. You know, I've had friends from one of my jobs a while ago, 2 friends who I love to pieces, and you know, they do stuff like that. They understand if I cancel on them on last minute. I mean, you know, they don't berate me for it. And if you have someone who suffers from anxiety, talk to them. Anxiety is different for everyone. For me, when I'm having an anxiety attack or I'm feeling very, very anxious, I don't want you to come near me. I don't want your personal space in my personal space. I don't really necessarily want to be talking, and I do talk a lot, so that seems very strange. So then people ask me how I am, if everything's okay, and I don't want to be talking. I need you to talk. If you don't know what to do, ask. Always ask, because... So I just want to share that. I put that out there. I don't know. Yeah, that's just it. I'm feeling a lot better now. I am doing good. I'm not sick anymore, so that's great. I got a new bubbly hat, which I love. So there's that. But yeah, I love you guys, all the friends and family I don't see nearly enough. And I hope this gives you a little window into who I am a bit better and how much yeah.